You thought honesty guaranteed loyalty. You thought intelligence protected you. You thought people valued truth. And maybe the most painful realization of all was discovering that none of those things were enough. There is a specific kind of silence that enters your life after betrayal. Not loud betrayal, not dramatic betrayal. The quiet kind. The kind where someone smiles at you while calculating your usefulness. The kind where institutions preach morality while rewarding manipulation behind closed doors. The kind where you slowly realize that many people do not love truth nearly as much as they love comfort. At first, you resist this realization because it feels dangerous, almost forbidden. You want to believe people are fundamentally rational, fair, honest, good. But then, life begins showing you patterns. The most deceptive person in the room often gains the most influence. The loudest voice is mistaken for the wisest. The person who tells uncomfortable truths becomes isolated, while the person selling illusions becomes admired. And slowly, something begins changing inside you. Not because you became cynical, because you started paying attention. Most people never truly study human nature. They study the performance of human nature, the socially acceptable version, the polished mask, the carefully edited illusion that civilization places over primal instincts. But beneath every civilization, beneath every ideology, beneath every institution, the same forces remain. Fear, status, power, survival, control. For centuries, society has punished those who describe human behavior too honestly, and few names represent that more than Niccolò Machiavelli. Machiavelli was not hated because he was evil. He was hated because he removed the mask. He observed what people actually did, instead of what they claimed to believe. While others spoke about morality, virtue, and justice, Machiavelli quietly studied ambition, manipulation, fear, and power. He understood something deeply unsettling. Human beings are rarely driven by principles alone. They are driven by incentives, emotions, survival instincts, and hidden desires they barely understand themselves. And society still fears this truth, because once you understand human nature clearly, you become harder to manipulate. People do not fear evil. They fear losing comfort. The dangerous person is not the liar. It is the person who sees the lie. You are not becoming cynical. You are becoming observant. Think about the last time honesty actually punished you instead of rewarding you. Think about the last time you watched someone gain power through confidence rather than competence. Think about the moments when you stayed silent to avoid conflict, even when you knew something was wrong. Those moments matter more than most people realize, because they reveal a truth hidden beneath modern society. Many systems are not built to reward truth. They are built to preserve stability. And stability often depends on illusion. That is why people defend narratives emotionally, long before they examine them logically. It is why institutions protect appearances at all costs. It is why entire societies can normalize corruption as long as daily comfort remains intact. Human beings are not merely rational creatures. They are emotional survival machines desperately searching for certainty in a chaotic world. And the moment you fully understand that, the world begins to look very different. Once you see human nature clearly, you can never unsee it. One of the most uncomfortable truths about human nature is that people often respect power more than morality. Not openly, of course. Society teaches the opposite. From childhood, you are told that honesty earns admiration, kindness creates loyalty, and morality leads to success. Stories celebrate the virtuous hero. Schools reward obedience. Public culture praises humility and compassion. But the real world tells a darker story. Again and again, history reveals the same pattern. Human beings are drawn towards strength long before they evaluate character. A leader can lie, manipulate, humiliate others, even destroy lives, and still maintain loyalty if they project certainty. Meanwhile, someone honest but uncertain is often ignored completely. Because deep beneath civilization, the human nervous system still carries ancient instincts built for survival. For most of human history, survival depended on attaching yourself to power. Tribes followed the strongest hunter. Armies followed fearless generals. Kingdoms obeyed rulers capable of inspiring fear. In unstable environments, confidence became psychologically associated with safety. And evolution never truly removed that instinct. Even now, people unconsciously confuse confidence with competence. The person who speaks with certainty appears intelligent before they prove anything. The person who hesitates appears weak before they finish a sentence. Confidence can hypnotize entire societies. You see this everywhere once you notice it. Political figures gain massive support despite obvious contradictions because they project strength. Corporate leaders are admired not for morality, but for dominance, wealth, and status. Public figures survive scandals because people emotionally associate power with value. Most people do not follow truth, they follow certainty. And modern systems amplify this instinct constantly. Social media rewards outrage because outrage feels powerful. Algorithms promote confidence because certainty spreads faster than nuance. Calm reflection rarely goes viral. Emotional dominance does. The loudest voice controls attention. The most emotionally detached person often controls the room. Weakness, uncertainty, and vulnerability are socially punished more often than people admit. You may have experienced this personally. Maybe you noticed people interrupting you when you spoke carefully, but listening when you became colder. Maybe kindness earned you disrespect, while emotional distance earned you attention. Maybe you spent years trying to be understood when the world was rewarding those who simply appeared unshakable. And that realization changes something inside a person. Because eventually, you begin asking a dangerous question. Have I spent my life trying to be liked instead of respected? Human beings like to believe morality drives their decisions. But psychology suggests something more unsettling. People often choose emotional allegiance first, then rationalize morality afterward. When someone powerful succeeds, society often rewrites their behavior as acceptable. When someone powerless fails, even their virtues become invisible. Morality is often a luxury built after power is secured. This does not mean morality is meaningless. It means morality alone does not control human behavior nearly as much as people pretend. And perhaps that is why Machiavelli disturbed so many people. He described the world as it behaved, not as it wished to appear. Who receives more attention in your world? The honest person or the confident one? The answer to that question reveals more about human nature than most people are willing to admit. Because power does not always corrupt. Sometimes power simply reveals what was already there. Most people believe they are principled until principles become dangerous. That is the illusion. Human beings love imagining themselves as courageous in hypothetical situations. They picture themselves resisting corruption, speaking truth fearlessly, standing against injustice while everyone else stays silent. But history tells a far more disturbing story. Under pressure, morality becomes fragile, not because people are born evil, but because fear changes perception itself. A person afraid of losing status will justify silence. A person afraid of isolation will betray conviction. A person afraid of punishment will slowly convince themselves that obedience is wisdom. And the terrifying part is that this process rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. People rarely betray you suddenly. They betray you slowly, one compromise at a time, one silence at a time, one rationalization at a time. Throughout history, ordinary people have supported cruelty not because they enjoyed suffering, but because resistance threatened their survival. Authoritarian systems were never maintained by monsters alone. They were maintained by millions of emotionally exhausted individuals trying to protect themselves from consequences. Fear conditioning is incredibly powerful. Once fear enters a social environment, morality becomes negotiable. You can observe this even in modern life. In workplaces, people stay silent when they witness unethical behavior because challenging authority risks income, reputation, or belonging. In social circles, individuals abandon friends the moment public opinion shifts against them. On social media, outrage spreads like wildfire because people instinctively fear becoming the next target. The crowd punishes hesitation, and eventually, people learn that survival often requires performance. Group conformity shapes human behavior far more deeply than most want to admit. Psychologists have repeatedly demonstrated that individuals will ignore their own senses if enough people around them insist on a different reality. Because human beings are not only afraid of being wrong, they are afraid of being alone. Social rejection activates ancient survival instincts buried deep within the nervous system. Thousands of years ago, isolation from the tribe could mean death, and even today the brain often interprets exclusion as danger. That is why obedience to authority can become automatic under pressure. Not because people stop thinking entirely, but because fear narrows thinking into survival mode. Fear turns morality into negotiation. Most loyalty lasts only until sacrifice is required. And perhaps you have seen this yourself. Maybe someone defended you privately, but abandoned you publicly. Maybe people who claimed to value honesty disappeared the moment honesty became uncomfortable. Maybe you watched entire groups suddenly change beliefs because disagreeing became socially expensive. That is the painful reality most people avoid confronting. Human morality is often conditional. If your beliefs disappeared the moment they became inconvenient, were they ever beliefs at all? This is what makes social trust so fragile. Not because betrayal is rare, but because under enough pressure, betrayal becomes normal, rewarded even. And once you truly understand how easily fear reshapes human behavior, you begin seeing society very differently. Human beings claim to want the truth, but most of the time, what they actually want is reassurance. Because truth is not always liberating. Sometimes truth humiliates you. Sometimes it destroys your identity. Sometimes it forces you to accept that the world is not as fair, safe, or meaningful as you once believed. And the human mind will do almost anything to avoid that pain. This is why people cling to illusions, even when reality is standing directly in front of them. Not because they are stupid, because illusions are psychologically comforting. The mind protects identity before it protects truth. Think about how people react when deeply held beliefs are challenged. Rarely with calm curiosity, usually with emotion, defensiveness, anger, mockery, denial. Because when a belief becomes tied to identity, questioning it no longer feels intellectual. It feels personal. A person can ignore overwhelming evidence if accepting reality threatens their sense of belonging, morality, status, or emotional stability. This psychological phenomenon is known as cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort experienced when reality contradicts internal beliefs. And instead of changing beliefs, many people change their perception of reality itself. History is filled with examples of this. Philosophers who challenged dominant ideas were condemned before later being celebrated. Whistleblowers exposing corruption were often attacked more aggressively than the corruption itself. Entire societies have denied obvious dangers simply because acknowledging them would require painful change. Reality becomes dangerous when it threatens belonging. Because human beings are tribal creatures. Most people do not form beliefs independently. They inherit them emotionally from family, culture, politics, religion, social groups, and media environments. Over time, those beliefs become psychological shelter. They provide certainty in a chaotic world. And certainty is addictive. This is why confirmation bias is so powerful. People naturally seek information that reinforces existing beliefs while avoiding information that threatens them. Not consciously, necessarily. The process is often automatic. Most people want reassurance disguised as information. You can see this everywhere in modern society. Media outlets survive by feeding audiences emotionally satisfying narratives. Social media algorithms trap individuals inside ideological echo chambers. Entire communities form around collective certainty, where disagreement becomes betrayal. And once identity merges with belief, truth becomes secondary. Perhaps that is why genuinely intelligent people are often misunderstood. Intelligence is not simply the ability to gather information. It is the ability to tolerate uncomfortable reality without collapsing emotionally. That is far rarer, because seeing reality clearly often comes at a psychological cost. It can isolate you. It can make conversations feel artificial. It can make society itself seem strangely performative, as though millions of people are unconsciously protecting emotional narratives they secretly know are incomplete. What belief would emotionally destroy you if it turned out to be false? That question matters more than most people realize, because the beliefs people protect most aggressively are often the ones they fear examining most deeply. And once you understand how desperately human beings crave emotional certainty, manipulation becomes much easier to understand. After all, the easiest person to control is not the ignorant person. It is the person who needs the illusion to survive. One of the greatest illusions people carry is believing they are difficult to manipulate. Most people assume manipulation only works on the weak, the emotional, or the unintelligent. But manipulation becomes truly powerful when it stops feeling like manipulation. The best manipulation never feels like control. It feels like your own decision. That is why propaganda, advertising, political narratives, and social influence work so well. Not because humans are incapable of thinking, but because humans crave emotional certainty. People want meaning. They want identity. They want belonging. They want someone to blame for their frustration. And anyone capable of providing those emotional rewards gains influence almost automatically. This is how mass persuasion works. Not through logic alone, but through emotional framing. Fear-based leaders do not succeed because they tell the truth perfectly. They succeed because they make uncertainty feel unbearable, then offer emotional relief through simple answers. The crowd does not think, it reacts. History has shown this repeatedly. Entire populations can be emotionally directed if fear, anger, or tribal identity become intense enough. Once people emotionally attach themselves to a narrative, defending that narrative begins to feel like defending themselves. And modern society has perfected this process. Consumer culture convinces people that identity can be purchased. Influencers shape personalities by turning lifestyles into aspiration. Social media outrage cycles keep millions emotionally overstimulated because emotional people are easier to direct than calm people. You think you are immune to manipulation because you recognize it in others. But manipulation aimed at you is designed specifically for your psychology, your fears, your desires, your loneliness, your need to belong. That is why people willingly surrender freedom when fear becomes unbearable. During uncertainty, many individuals prefer comforting direction over personal responsibility. Thinking independently requires energy. Doubt is exhausting. Certainty feels safer. This was one of Machiavelli's darkest insights. People often do not want freedom as much as they claim. They want stability, predictability, emotional security, even if it costs them autonomy. And once you begin noticing this, an uncomfortable question appears. How much of your personality was genuinely chosen? How many opinions are truly yours? How many desires were implanted by culture, trends, algorithms, or social pressure before you were old enough to recognize the influence? Because the most effective systems of control are not built through force alone. They are built by making people emotionally dependent on the very systems controlling them. Most people believe their decisions are based on logic, but human beings are far more influenced by status than they are willing to admit. From ancient kingdoms to modern social media, society has always operated through invisible hierarchies. Some people possess influence, approval, and authority, while others spend their lives unconsciously seeking it. And this desire shapes behavior more than objective truth ever could. Humans are deeply status-sensitive creatures. A person may privately disagree with an idea, then publicly support it because disagreement threatens reputation. Another may silence their real opinions simply to avoid exclusion. Over time, survival becomes performance. People do not merely fear death, they fear social death. This fear controls modern society in subtle ways. Online validation systems train people to associate approval with self-worth. Likes, followers, status symbols, career titles, political identities all become forms of social signaling. Many individuals are no longer expressing themselves authentically. They are managing perception, carefully editing personality for social reward. Most people edit themselves long before censorship is required, and the frightening part is how unconscious this process becomes. In royal courts centuries ago, survival depended on pleasing the king. In political systems, people learned to align themselves with dominant ideologies. Today, digital culture rewards conformity in a similar way. The structures evolved. Human psychology did not. Approval can become a prison disguised as acceptance. This is why herd psychology is so powerful. Once a group consensus forms, individuals often abandon independent thought to preserve belonging. Not necessarily because they are weak, but because the brain interprets rejection as danger. You can watch entire groups suddenly shift opinions once influential figures change direction. Not because truth changed overnight, but because status incentives changed. And eventually, a disturbing realization emerges. Many opinions people express publicly are strategic, not genuine. How much of your identity exists independently from social approval? That question becomes difficult to ignore once you begin observing human behavior honestly. Because those who understand status psychology gain something dangerous: predictability. They understand what people will defend, what they will hide, and what they will sacrifice to protect social acceptance. And once you see how strongly status controls human behavior, crowds stop looking random. They start looking programmed. Some of the most emotionally exhausted people in the world are not cruel people. They are kind people without boundaries. People who spent years believing that loyalty would be returned automatically, that patience would eventually be appreciated, that self-sacrifice would create deeper love, stronger friendships, or genuine respect. But human nature does not always work that way, and for many people realizing this feels heartbreaking. Because society often teaches kindness as unconditional surrender. You are told to always understand others, always forgive, always give more chances, always prove your goodness through sacrifice. Yet reality quietly teaches a different lesson. Unlimited access creates limited respect. This does not mean compassion is weakness. It means compassion without awareness becomes dangerous. There are people in this world who respond to empathy with gratitude, and there are others who respond to empathy with appetite. Predatory personalities often search for individuals who struggle to enforce boundaries, not consciously in every case, but psychologically. They test limits slowly. Small disrespect, small manipulation, small emotional demands, and if those behaviors are tolerated, they escalate. This is why emotionally intelligent manipulation can feel so confusing. The person exploiting you may not always appear openly malicious. Sometimes they appear wounded, misunderstood, dependent, even loving. But beneath the surface, the relationship becomes one-sided. Your energy is consumed. Your needs become secondary. Your guilt becomes a tool. Many people confuse people pleasing with morality because they were conditioned to fear rejection. Saying no feels selfish. Creating distance feels cruel. Protecting yourself feels wrong. But boundaries are not cruelty. They are psychological self-respect. Some people interpret kindness as weakness because weakness is all they understand. And Machiavelli understood something uncomfortable about human incentives. If people benefit from crossing your boundaries without consequences, many eventually will. Not always out of evil. Sometimes simply because human beings adapt to what is tolerated. That is why self-sacrifice alone rarely guarantees love. In fact, constantly abandoning yourself for others can slowly reduce respect instead of increasing it. Because when someone communicates, "I will accept anything to keep you," people unconsciously stop fearing loss. And where there is no fear of loss, appreciation often disappears. Perhaps you have experienced this already. Maybe you gave endless understanding to people who offered excuses instead of accountability. Maybe you stayed loyal to individuals who only valued you when convenient. Maybe you confused emotional endurance with emotional maturity. Compassion without awareness becomes self-destruction. And learning that truth does not make you cold, it makes you conscious. Society often claims to admire independent thinkers, but history shows something very different. Most independent thinkers are rejected first, then respected later, once they are no longer dangerous. Because genuine independent thought does something deeply uncomfortable to people, it destabilizes certainty. Human beings depend psychologically on shared beliefs. Social systems function because large groups agree on common narratives about morality, identity, politics, success, and reality itself. When someone challenges those narratives too directly, people often react emotionally before they react intellectually. Not because the thinker is wrong, because uncertainty feels threatening. The individual who thinks independently becomes a mirror others avoid. History repeats this pattern constantly. Philosophers were mocked before becoming legendary. Scientists were condemned before becoming celebrated. Writers, reformers, and critics were isolated long before society admitted they saw something real. At the time, they were not viewed as visionaries. They were viewed as disruptive, dangerous, difficult. Because questioning systems is dangerous when systems live inside people. Most individuals build their identity around collective beliefs inherited from family, culture, religion, ideology, or social environment. When those beliefs are challenged, the nervous system can interpret it almost like a personal attack. That is why intellectual conformity becomes socially rewarded. People who repeat acceptable ideas are considered safe. People who ask uncomfortable questions become unpredictable. And unpredictability creates anxiety in groups. This is where social punishment mechanisms appear. Mockery, exclusion, character attacks, silence. Not always through formal censorship, but through emotional pressure. The group signals which thoughts are acceptable and which thoughts threaten belonging. Most revolutions begin as social isolation, because before society accepts a new idea, it usually punishes the person carrying it. And perhaps you have experienced this on a smaller scale. Maybe you stayed quiet during conversations, because honesty would create tension. Maybe you learned that asking difficult questions makes people uncomfortable. Maybe you noticed that people often prefer confidence over curiosity, agreement over truth. Have you ever hidden your real thoughts just to maintain peace? That question reveals how powerful social conformity truly is. Independent thinking is not only intellectual, it is emotional risk. It requires tolerating isolation, misunderstanding, and uncertainty without immediately retreating back into collective comfort. And that is why so few people truly do it. Most people are not searching for clarity. They are searching for psychological safety. But if you have continued questioning despite discomfort, despite isolation, despite doubt, then perhaps you were never searching for comfort in the first place. The most powerful forms of control no longer look like control. They look like convenience, entertainment, endless information, constant stimulation. Modern society rarely controls people through force alone because force creates resistance. Instead, control becomes far more effective when people participate willingly. A controlled mind rarely realizes it is controlled. This is what makes modern systems so psychologically sophisticated. People are no longer simply told what to think. They are guided emotionally through algorithms, distraction, dependency, and carefully shaped narratives. The attention economy thrives by capturing human focus for as long as possible. Every notification, outrage cycle, trending controversy, and dopamine-driven scroll competes for psychological control over your awareness. Because attention is power. Whoever controls attention influences perception, and perception eventually shapes reality. Distraction is one of the oldest forms of power. A distracted population becomes easier to influence because exhausted minds rarely think deeply. Constant stimulation weakens reflection. Emotional overload replaces clarity with reaction. People become trapped in cycles of consumption without noticing how little time they spend truly thinking. This is not necessarily a conspiracy. It is simply the natural evolution of systems built around profit, influence, and behavioral prediction. Digital platforms study human psychology with extraordinary precision. They learn what triggers fear, outrage, desire, insecurity, tribal loyalty, and emotional dependency. Over time, algorithms become mirrors reflecting human weakness back at society. And most people participate voluntarily. That is the disturbing part. The modern prison rarely looks like a prison. It looks personalized, comfortable, entertaining. People carry surveillance devices willingly in their pockets. They document their thoughts, behaviors, desires, locations, and emotions continuously. Entire identities are shaped online through validation systems that reward conformity, outrage, and emotional visibility. Slowly, human behavior becomes conditioned, not through direct commands, but through incentives. Reward the behavior you want repeated. Punish the behavior you want discouraged. Repeat long enough, and the conditioning becomes invisible. This is why narrative shaping matters so much. The stories people consume daily influence what they fear, what they desire, what they normalize, and what they ignore. Eventually, many individuals stop distinguishing between authentic thought and programmed reaction. The crowd begins reacting automatically. Emotion first, reflection later. And once you recognize this pattern, modern life starts feeling strangely artificial, as though millions of people are being emotionally guided without fully realizing it. Not because they are weak. Because human psychology was never designed for constant manipulation at this scale. The most effective systems of control are the ones people defend themselves. Because once control becomes emotionally comfortable, people stop recognizing it as control at all. Technology changes. Civilizations rise and collapse. Empires become nations. Kingdoms become corporations. Propaganda evolves into algorithms. Wars become digital. Communication becomes instant. And yet beneath all of it, human nature remains almost the same. That is the final truth most people struggle to accept. The masks change. The instincts do not. Fear still controls people. Status still shapes behavior. Greed still blinds judgment. Belonging still overrides logic. Power still attracts loyalty. Survival still influences morality. History repeats itself not because humans fail to learn, but because human psychology remains remarkably stable across generations. The same emotional patterns that controlled ancient crowds still control modern societies, only the language has changed. Ancient rulers used religion, conquest, and spectacle. Modern systems use media, identity politics, consumerism, and digital influence, but the psychological mechanisms remain familiar. People still seek certainty during chaos, still follow confidence over wisdom, still attack uncomfortable truths, still fear exclusion, still surrender freedom for emotional security. This is why studying human nature feels unsettling. You begin realizing that civilization is often a thin layer placed over ancient instincts. Under pressure, many modern people behave no differently than humans thousands of years ago. And perhaps that was Machiavelli's true lesson. Not cruelty, clarity. Niccolò Machiavelli did not ask people to become monsters. He asked them to stop being naive about the nature of power, fear, and human behavior. Because denying human nature does not protect you from it. You do not escape manipulation by denying human nature. You become vulnerable to it. That is why awareness matters. Not paranoia, not hatred. Awareness. Once you understand how fear influences behavior, betrayal stops feeling so personal. Once you recognize how status shapes loyalty, human contradictions become easier to understand. Once you see how emotional needs distort truth, society itself becomes more predictable. The moment you understand human nature, you stop taking betrayal personally. Because people often act according to incentives, fears, survival instincts, and emotional conditioning, they barely recognize themselves. And strangely, this realization can become liberating. Not because it makes the world softer, but because it makes the world clearer. Clarity is uncomfortable, but blindness is fatal. This is where the real shift happens. Awareness becomes protection. Emotional control becomes freedom. Independent thought becomes resistance. You stop expecting human beings to behave ideally at all times. You stop blindly trusting appearances. You stop confusing confidence with virtue or manipulation with strength. And most importantly, you begin observing reality without needing it to comfort you. That is rare, because most people spend their entire lives trying to escape uncomfortable truths instead of understanding them. But once the mask falls away, once you truly see the patterns beneath human behavior, the world never looks the same again. Seeing reality clearly comes with a cost. The more honestly you observe human nature, the harder it becomes to fully return to comforting illusions. Certain conversations begin feeling artificial. Certain systems become easier to see through. Certain behaviors become painfully predictable. And sometimes, that awareness feels isolating. Because most people are not searching for truth at all costs. They are searching for emotional stability. But illusions are not peace. They are dependency. Human nature contains darkness, fear, self-interest, manipulation, tribal loyalty, the need for control and belonging. Pretending those forces do not exist does not remove them from the world. It only removes your ability to recognize them. That is why awareness matters. Not to become paranoid, not to hate humanity, but to see clearly enough that you can choose consciously instead of reacting automatically. Most people spend their entire lives unconsciously shaped by fear, status, social conditioning, and emotional narratives they never stop to examine. They inherit beliefs, defend identities, follow crowds, and repeat patterns without ever asking who truly benefits from their obedience. Very few people pause long enough to examine the system shaping their thoughts. And perhaps that is the real danger, not evil itself. Unconsciousness. The truth does not liberate you instantly. First, it destroys illusions, and that destruction can feel uncomfortable, sometimes lonely, sometimes even painful. But there is freedom hidden inside clarity. Because once you understand human nature, you stop expecting perfection from people. You stop personalizing every betrayal. You stop confusing manipulation with love or popularity with truth. You begin seeing patterns instead of performances. Awareness is expensive because ignorance is comfortable. And maybe that is the final lesson hidden beneath all of this. You cannot control human nature, but you can stop being controlled by it. After hearing all this, what truth about human nature have you experienced personally, but rarely say out loud? A.